This is the Big Woods Bucks podcast. Come explore the big woods and timber in North America with your host, Maine master guide and deer tracking expert Hal Blood. Listen to Hal and co-hosts Lee Libby and Joe Cruzy as they unlock the secrets of big woods whitetails. Each episode will provide valuable insights into the tried and true system Hal has used for the last 40 years to scout, locate, and hunt mature big woods bucks. Listen and laugh as the crew discusses Hal's legendary adventures and learn how to apply a lifetime's worth of lessons from the big woods to your own hunting and outdoor adventures.
Welcome to the Big Woods Bucks podcast. I'm your host, Hal Blood, sitting here with my my co-host, Lee Libby.
Hey.
And Joe Cruzy.
Hello.
And this week we wanted to get you geared up a little bit for snowy deer season coming on, and we're going to talk a little bit about something I think most everybody that tracks has the most trouble with, and we call it closing the deal. You know, a lot of people can go in the woods and keep up and stay on the track and do all the fundamentals, but sometimes it's that last end where you got to close in and get the shot and then make the shot. That's all the difference in whether you're going to kill the buck or not. So we'll tell a few stories about that. Might help you out a little bit. And we all still do it. I mean, I do it all the time. I'll say, why the heck did I do that? You know, I blow it. But in the end, it's just all about just keeping on doing it and learn from what you did, and you make a choice and go on with it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Try to remember.
Yeah.
That's how I met Hal.
Yeah.
I killed a nice buck in Maine that year, and was it 2005? 2005.
Jesus.
2006, yeah.
Seems like yesterday, Lee.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, I went to New Hampshire that next week on 4 inches of snow, and I had tracked that buck for not far, a couple miles, if that, and came into what looked like a sheep pasture. And he had just, he had given up for the season and was just putting the feed bag on. And I said to myself, that deer's right here. He's right here. And then I knew the area pretty well, so I'm like, you fool, that deer ain't here. He's on top of that mountain. So I didn't even creep. I took about 5 or 6 steps, full motion forward, and he was laying underneath a spruce tree, and he jumped up and took off. I spent the rest of the day chasing him and never did catch him. But, funny story, I did find his antlers that fall, that next spring. I don't know if I ever told you that.
No, I didn't know that.
Right on top of that mountain where I thought he was going.
Yeah. He just couldn't quite make it that day.
So anyways, I had read Hal's article in the Northwood Sporting Journal for years, and I went home and I just picked up the telephone book and found Cedar Ridge Outfitters, Hal Blood in Jackman, Maine. I dialed the phone and he answered it.
That was back when he was approachable.
Yeah, that before the Ferraris and the,
yeah.
And so I said, hey, listen, my name's Lee Libby, and you don't know me from Adam, but I got a question about that last 200 yards. And he says, what? The last 200 yards on a buck track. I said, I can track them and bump them all day long, but that last 100 or 200 yards just kills me every time. And he says, well, you need to come to the deer clinic. So the rest of it's history. But and still to this day, I still screw it up because I'll be, you want to make something happen, and I think it happens to all of us.
Yeah. I still think it's one of the things that when I do my deer clinics, I always get that question. Somebody's invariably going to, in one form or another, inquire about that, just because I think in a lot of times, a lot of the people, because they haven't made that happen yet, they don't know when it might. You know what I mean? It's like it's like the unknown. How's this really going to happen? And really, you don't know how it's going to happen. You don't know how it's going to end. I mean, you can do some things to up your odds on getting your chance. Getting a look at it or whatever. But
sometimes it'll surprise the hell out of you when it happens. Well, it usually does anyway. But
yeah.
But even if you're expecting it's I think seeing the signs to know you're at the last 100 yards, because how do you know you're at the last 100 yards? And I think some of the cues is when he's slowing down, feeding and all that, that's when you really want to, biggest sign I would say
is
all right, something might happen here soon, and it's I mean, that's the magical moment, right? That's what everyone's waiting for.
Yeah. Well, I used to have to go back after I jumped him. I'd go back and I'd study that last 100 or 200 yards, even with clients. I'd go back and say, well, we got to give him some time anyways. Let's go back and see what he was doing before he laid down.
Good point. Good
and
advice.
Tried to teach myself that way. And then this last year, I'm obviously getting at the age or enough experience doing it where I saw it before it was too late. I'm like, all right, he wants to lay down right here. That deer went into the woods 3 times and came back out. You could see he went in, just turned around in his own tracks, didn't like that spot, went down this little old skid trail, went in another 10 feet maybe, turned around in his tracks and came back out. And I'm like, all right, he's right here. And sure enough, the next time he went in the woods, wasn't 15 feet, he was laid right there. So
he just had to find the right place he liked,
Yeah.
And that's why, the other thing, I think we talked about it before, was sometimes they'll lay down and they'll get laid down, and for some reason they don't like where they are. They either can't see what they want to see or smell what they want to smell, or they can't hear right, and they just get up and move a little bit.
Yep.
That's the time a lot of times it catches you if you don't pick up on that. That a lot of times people come to a bed while he's gone, and
right, exactly.
Yeah, and you start gomming ahead without looking, and he's,
he only went 100 yards.
Yeah,
not
less.
even.
Yeah, sometimes it's 20 or 30.
Yeah. That one horn buck in New Hampshire, same thing. I walked down, stood right in his bed, and I looked up, and he was 25 yards laid behind a big spruce tree. But he saw me about the time I saw him. So,
yeah,
3-4 years ago, I was tracking a buck, and I came to a spot that it was it just looked like where he was going to be laying, and it was opening up to see. And I stopped, went so far as to get my binoculars out and scan the area, thinking one of those places you just had a feeling he's got to be right here. Picked it all over, still didn't see him. He was behind a blowdown and probably just had his head or something, or just the second I took 3 steps, he was gone. Never had a chance, anything. And you knew he was there. You do everything right, and sometimes it's just still not good enough.
Yeah.
I see. There was one in New Hampshire one year. I was walking up into this tote road, and I cut this buck track, and it was blizzard conditions, and there wasn't hardly a speck of snow in that track. And instead of just creeping in on that track, I thought it'd be smart and make a circle. Well, I made a circle around, just a small one, and he was laid under a blowdown. Well, his only escape was right back his tracks. Like, literally, that was he had to go that way for 20 yards before he could go left or right. But no, my infinite wisdom, I said, I'll make a circle. Well, when he jumped up behind that blowdown, I didn't even have a shot. Yeah. So I let a few go anyways, but then he ran right back down his tracks and took off. And I thought, well, that was dumb, because if I had come in on his tracks, you know what I mean, just crept in, I'd have caught him in there laying down, and I'd at least got a look at him.
That's another reason I very rarely ever leave a track, because as soon as you leave the track, you don't know what the heck he's done,
Yep.
You don't know how fast to go, how slow. You don't know anything.
Yeah.
It's like going after something blind once you leave the track.
Remember I told you that I was in a spot and I had a bunch of good ledgy country, and this deer was walking up this ravine, and I kept trying to get up and circle around and look down on him. This was years ago, and I'd done it all morning long. It was a big, long ravine going up through, and I'd make a circle and come down, circle and come down, and all of a sudden, 300 or 400 yards up the ravine, I hear this boom, boom, boom. I didn't even go look. So I came back, and I was telling Hal on the phone that night, and he's like, I told you not to leave that track. While you were dinking around up there in the woods trying to make a circle, you could have caught him. And he was right. I'm pretty confident I'd have caught that deer if I'd have just stayed at it.
So what makes you look then, Hal? When you say the last 100 or 200 yards to close the deal, what are the telltale signs that you're looking at that?
Well, it isn't always the same thing every time, because the whole thing is that particular buck story, that
putting all the pieces together
that particular day. Now it's like I said, that's why I always say it's a story of his life. and every day is different for a buck like it is for us a lot of times, So, I just look for something that's, if he's on a straight line mission, I just keep going. I don't even worry about it till he does something. Mm-hmm. Now, that something might be he found a doe or he smelt a doe off one way and he went over to check, or it might be he stopped to feed. I mean, and quite frankly, the feeding part of it we talk about before they lay down is probably, that's the easiest thing for people to key in on. It's easy to explain that because you can see it, They either pawed around the ground or they wandered around, ate moss off some, blown down spruce or did something like that. It's very obvious. So that's the easy one. The other ones aren't as easy. You might see where he veers off and he goes over and shags a doe around and then he gets back onto his thing. Well, a lot of people think, well, geez, he's slowed down here and he's probably right here. Well, no, he just had a distraction for a minute. I always, when I see that happen and I go easy, and again, I might not go easy. That could have happened in the night too. See, until I know or I feel that I've caught up, a lot of the stuff doesn't matter to me. The feeding still does, but what he's doing, his activities for the night or day or whatever, until I'm caught up fairly fresh, I don't worry about it. I just got to keep going. So I just look for something different he's doing. Sometimes the something different is he's changed course. So he's going cross country, and I'm always thinking, geez, he's headed for that mountain. No, he's not. He went by that. He's headed, I'm thinking ahead, trying to think of where he might be going or whatever. But then all of a sudden he veers off and does something different, but it might not be feeding. Well, then that's when I stop for a minute or I slow down and think about, geez, something's going on here. I don't know what it is yet, but I do slow down then and try to figure that out. And usually it'll be fairly soon you'll figure it out. Sometimes that veer off is that he smelt a doe over there, or sometimes it is he smelt a blown down cedar over there that he went to get into. So that's your first cue is any change, any abrupt change in the way he's traveling. Maybe he slows down, maybe he's had a long stride and he's just straight lining somewhere, and then all of a sudden you see where his pace shortens up and he's a little bit more wandery, That's when you got to start slowing up and thinking about what might be going on. Because you can always speed back up. It doesn't take that long to slow down and just to make sure,
Yeah.
But if you don't, for sure, you're going to stumble into one and just jump them,
Yeah.
Probably won't even see them when you're doing that,
Yeah, it's you go back through. I'm sure anyone that's hunted for any period of time goes back through all those, and they've got take both hands 5 times, holding them for all the ones that are bumped. That's all the learning and the misses, and got the times like, you're going a marathon for a day and they never do stop.
Yeah, but you have to take that all in stride. It's all part of just keep doing it till you get it. You might get it one time and you don't get it for 5 or 10 times, but you got to do something. But that is the key to whatever he's doing, and he changes it. It's like us. We're busy working along on something, and all of a sudden we take a break, or we go get a coffee, or whatever it is. We come out of our routine. That's probably the easiest way to catch us off guard too, right?
Yeah.
Sitting down having a muffin, right, Lee?
Yeah.
Somebody can come up and hit you in the back of the head.
I'm occupied.
Yeah. I get excited a lot of times too if I get on a real active scrape line. Even though he might have done them the night before, maybe he's not. Maybe he's out doing them right then, but he's distracted.
Oh, yeah.
Scrape lines are, because you get on them sometimes and they're just like on a mission. They're
every 100 feet.
Oh, you gotta love it.
Oh, closer.
Yeah. And you get on that, and that's one of the things that gets me super excited is waiting for him. Because he's distracted. He's doing something else. His head's down.
He's making noise.
Yep.
Yep.
Exactly.
I caught one year before last, making his bed. He was just enough crunchy leaves under the snow. I thought, I'll never see him. And sure enough, I popped up over and he was pawing around there on the ground. I looked like he was going to lay down, but I never gave him a chance. But he was just a little basket rack, so he got to live. But
yeah. Well, that one I shot in the Adirondacks last fall, I knew I didn't think he was that close, but I knew he'd get up out of his bed and he was just going along, and he started feeding again, and it was that crusty snow. I never thought I'd even get a look at him. It was so crunchy, you know. And I step around a spruce tree, and there he is with his head snapping ferns there at 30 yards from me. I mean, I was like shocked, you know what I mean? So sometimes it can happen just that way, you know. You just bumble on. I was actually stomping my feet through the crust because it was easier than trying to halfway get your weight on and it busts anyway, you know.
Maybe that's why it worked. You weren't sneaking.
It might be. Yeah. I was so close I could hear the fern buds snapping, you know, when he was pawed into them ferns. I could hear that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's that like? I never heard that. Surprise.
Oh, yeah.
No, but it is funny sometimes how that happens, where you just end up when you're not expecting it. You know, you can look all you want and prepare for that last quote unquote 100 yards or whatever, you know, the death creep and all that stuff. But then other times it's like they hit you in the face.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the other thing is people don't see the buck a lot of times first because they don't have, I call it getting the wood's eye or the game eyes or whatever you want to call it. But if you don't have the experience to see game first, there's a problem with a lot of people. They don't pick out that antler or the little brown patch of fur that's out of place, you know, like big, you know, 3 or 4 inch piece of brown somewhere. You know, if you don't get used to seeing that stuff, it's pretty hard to see a deer first because they usually ain't in the wide open, you know.
Yeah.
So that's it. You got to be able to see something especially when you least expect it, and that's usually how it happens. Quite frankly, you all of a sudden you're like, it's almost like you jump at a surprise because there it is. You see something, you know.
Horizontal lines.
Horizontal lines. Yep. I think we talked about that before, you know, and a lot of people get hung up in the rocks and the logs and all that, which is fine, but when there's snow on the ground, that stuff's all got snow on it, and the deer don't, you know, unless it's in a blizzard, and then he still won't have much. But
and there's sometimes that you'll see something and you'll be looking and you'd bet everything you have on it that it's a deer, you know, until you look at it a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Well, I sometimes liken it to your mind is making it appear, you know, like you're going to do anything to make that.
Oh yeah. You can make your mind see something. You can convince yourself it's a deer. I used to do that all the time until I started using the binoculars, and then if you carry them, that's why I do, because there's something you know, I've sat there and looked at something for a half an hour. I know that's a buck. I can see an antler or something else, and then I never see it change. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I don't know. So you sneak over, and it was a root ball or something.
Yeah.
So you never used to carry binoculars back in the day?
No, I never did. I had a period when I didn't, because originally when I first started hunting up here, I had a scope, you know, because we used those in southern Maine, you know, because the routine down at the family's lodge was, you know, you'd sit in the morning, the evening, you know, and so I always had a low power scope. I had it 1.5 power, you know. So the first, would have been, I guess, be the 8 years. I hunted 8 years I had a 721 Remington with that low powered scope on it. It was a 270, and the last year I used it was 1988. So from 80 to 88, I used it, and then when I went to the 7600, I went right to the Peep Sight. So then from then until, it was in at least the mid 90s. There was 5, 6, 7 years, anyways, that I didn't have binoculars. I tried some. I had bought some of those real, you know, you see the compact binoculars that are real tiny. I never could see nothing through them. I'd have to close one eye, so I tried 2 or 3 different ones. I just couldn't do anything, so I just quit with them. And then I remember it was either Mike or Billy. I think it was Billy one year gave me his pair. I think he was after moose season. He said, "Here, try those." And it was a pair of Leica binoculars there, and it made all the difference in the world. When you'd see something, you could immediately identify it. You could look up and say, "Oh, no, it's a deer," or "No, it ain't," you know?
Yep.
And then once I did that, I go, I got to have binoculars, especially guiding, because now you're not only dependent on spotting game for yourself. It's for somebody else, And it made a world of difference once I started carrying those,
How do you carry yours inside your jacket?
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't get heated up or anything and fog up on you from your body heat?
I don't sweat.
He's a robot.
Yeah. No, you know what? I have that. They would once in a while, but not too much because I'd usually carry, keep my they'd be in my jacket, but I'd have my zipper down. The problem was if it was snowing or raining, you'd get a little bit of stuff on the lenses, spruce needles. And then I remember one time, first time me and Chris, we decided we'd go out to the SHOT Show and check it out. And I think I had just written the first book when we did that, but we met a guy out there that invented this thing. He called it the Optic Belt, and it was that thin neoprene thing that you could cover your binoculars with. And I think he basically, it was designed, for outside, you could carry it outside, and it would keep rain, snow, sweat, whatever off you. I think it was mainly for the rain and the snow, but I found with that, when I tucked that over, I put it around them, and I tucked that over the top of the lenses, it's never fogged up. So that's what I use. And I think the company, I don't think he ever made it. I don't know why. I thought it was a cool thing. We sold them. We bought a bunch from them and sold them. And then Chris C. somewhere, he found it online. I don't know, a year ago or something, that there was like 25 of them or 30 of them on a sale on a website. So we bought them all, and because he couldn't find, when we went back to find the company to buy more, it was like you couldn't find it,
Yeah.
So we bought all them, and I think most of them are sold. We might have a couple things.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different good ones out there now too.
Yeah.
Those binoc covers. So going back to you talking about when you used to hunt with a scope, what was the what made you transition to the Peep? Did you see other guys using it at the time, or did you just say this looks better? Or?
Well, I knew about the Peep Sight because I think we talked about it in another podcast. I was telling you about when I hunted down at my relative's lodge. There was the guy that introduced me to the pump gun. I never knew really nothing about. I mean, I'd seen ads for it. I probably knew what it was. The 7600 or 760 back in those days. But the guy at the lodge, he was one of the guys that owned it with my father's cousins. A deer never got by him. He never, if a deer come by him, it was going to be dead. He never missed a deer running or not. And I always wondered why, you know what I mean? And I looked at his gun, and he had a 760 pump. I don't know if it was probably a 308 or 06, whatever it was, doesn't matter. And it had the Peep Sight on it. And so I started looking at it, and I didn't really know much about it, And I just asked him, how he shot that, and he showed me, he had taken the aperture out, and he had me looking through it, and I'm like, yeah, it seemed pretty easy, you know what I mean? You just put the bead, he said, you just put the bead there, and you don't have to lead him or nothing, just put the bead on it, and I go, well, that's pretty simple for me, And so I knew about it, but I always, I always had good luck with that 721 with that low power scope, because it was really 1.5 power isn't really magnifying anything. It just gave me the one. It was a post, wasn't a crosshair. It was just a post, had the hair across it, but I killed a lot of deer with it, and running or not. But it was it was getting the weather in it. When I come up here and started hunting in snowy weather all the time, which we didn't have so much in southern Maine, snow, rain, all of that, it was constantly fogged up. I'd go to pull it up, it'd be fogged. I'd carry a handkerchief and I'd wipe it, and 10 minutes later it's fogged over again or full of snow. And then when it's cold, you get snow in it, you try to wipe it, and then your heat from your hand fogs it. And so anyways, That was it. So I said, I'm gonna go to the Peep Sight. And then I also at the same time, I was like, this bolt action, it's a right-handed bolt action. I was left-handed, and I'm like, this really ain't the best gun for what I'm doing here. So, and like I said, I'd read about the pumps, when Larry Benoit was a big fan of it, and it is not what he started with either, but he ended up with them, and I said, well, it seems to be a good choice. I did go actually, but before I bought the pump. I bought a used 742, the semi-automatic, and it just never carried right. I had to put a Peep Sight on it, and it never seemed to carry right. It seemed heavier and a little more awkward, and I didn't like it. And I said, I'll get the pump, and then that's it. I got the pump in 1989, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, 7600 is hard to beat for carry.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat. Everything about it, to where your hand fits in behind the fore end stock and everything, works good.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's, I don't know, it's just good choice. I mean, I know a lot of people like the levers and stuff, and they're good fast guns. There's lots of guys that use, Marlins or Savage levers. It doesn't matter. It's just
lever guns. I always wonder how much is about function and liking the gun, and how much is about the idea of the lever gun as far as the beginnings of tracking and everything, because that's kind of what it all started with. So I think it's nostalgia. I know it is for me, with the idea of a lever gun. It's cool, it's you're in the big woods and you're carrying a lever gun like the guys did back.
I think you're a cowboy.
I guess. Yeah. No, I think that was my first BB gun, who didn't have a Red Ryder? Right.
I think it's more the functionality, because it's solid. You know what I mean? You when you rack that lever, it's going to go off. You know what I mean? You're going to lever a thing in. With a semi-automatic, quite frankly, you're taking a lot to chance that the thing's going to function right. I mean, they do. Modern guns, they work good and stuff, but they got to be kept more clean than anything else. You're going to have a little bit more function problems if you don't really pay attention to them, or in the foul weather and stuff. Even with a bolt, it's when you bolt it, it's going to function, but it's just kind of slow.
Probably a few guys would argue with that are really fast with them, but
yeah, a lot of the guys call them the 742s. They call them Jam Masters, but it was their own fault. Lee's got the only one I ever knew. He never cleaned his gun, and the thing always functioned flawlessly for him.
You can't clean your gun. I'll tell you.
Tell us about that.
I'll tell you about that. So I had this tire changer, the 700 Remington. So I call it the tire changer.
Could you elaborate?
Wow. It was a bolt action. Let's just say that. 30-06. So one night I'm sitting there at the counter, and I decide, I'm just going to clean that gun. So I wiped it down good and took a little oil, and because being a Marine, I could take stuff apart. So I got fiddling around with that bolt a little bit. And next thing you know, I drop a couple drops of oil in there.
Oh, yeah, I know where this one's going. Yeah.
And I thought I was doing good, but I wasn't. So next morning, I get a phone call from a friend of mine. He says, "You ain't going to believe the buck that just ran across the yard there." I said, "Yeah, I'll be over." So I go over, and there's just a little bit of snow, but it's on top of potato chip type leaves, and you can hear, a squirrel sounds like a moose coming through the woods. So this deer goes down. He's walking along the side of this brook, and I said, I ain't no way going to catch him. So I climb right in the brook, and I start walking down that brook. And I walk down through there it's quite a ways, in and out where I could. And I look down that big 10-pointer, and he's climbing on this doe. And I'm like, 75 yards, wide open shot. I pulled up, and I pulled the trigger, and nothing, just nothing. So I rack a shell, do it again, nothing. So then I think, it feels like that firing pin wants to go ahead, but it won't, So I unzip my old jacket, and I shove that gun in the butt under my armpit, and I'm breathing on it, trying to get it warmed up. And I pull it out, another one, nothing. So I rack that last one in there, and I stick my gun back under my armpit, and I'm breathing. I look up, and that deer's looking right at me. And he had climbed off the doe then. And I'm like, son of a gun. I remember vividly his horns come around and almost touched in the front. And I'm like, son of a gun. So I pulled up one more time, pulled the trigger, nothing. So he took off, obviously. I ran home, grabbed my 30-30 lever action, and headed back in. Never caught up to him. But I took that gun after it had been sitting in the house that day. I walked up back. There's a little gravel pit behind my house I had. and threw a shell in it, pulled the trigger, boom, went off. Then did a little research, talking to some friends, and they're like, "Hey, dummy, you don't put oil around that firing pin." So, all right, good lesson learned there.
Didn't they teach us that in the Marine Corps?
Yeah, well, I must have been having one of them.
Hey, Hal here. Just want to take a minute to talk about the hunting club. And you can join by going right online at bigwoodsbucks.com. But anyways, I've got all my information is going in there. And it's a place where you can get together and look at my films, tips, writings, and all of that. And the best part is forums for you to communicate with, the rest of the club members, talk about big wood stuff and all of that. So anyways, $36 a year, cheaper than getting a Starbucks once a day. So join up and hope you see you on there. Hey everyone, Hal here. Just want to take a minute to talk about the Woodman Arms muzzleloader. We got them all set on the website to build your own and or buy your Big Woods Bucks model, either one you want to do. But anyways, we've tested a lot, and I can honestly say it's the most accurate muzzleloader on the market, best to carry in the Big Woods or anywhere else at 5.5 pounds. You can't go wrong with it. So get on there and check it out.
I did this. I did the same thing in Saskatchewan on a 150-something inch deer, but I ended up killing him on the third shot.
Yeah.
The first two shots were click, jacked another one in, bolt action, click.
Yep.
On the third one, he had already looked at me and he was going, and he stopped one last time and I killed him. And just lesson learned there. Never
oil that fire.
Oil a gun.
No.
Oh.
So now I don't even.
Oil it, clean it, but
I'll
fire
wipe
it off
down.
a few times.
Yeah, I'll
in
wipe
the morning.
it down and make sure
dry
it's clean,
fire's good.
And dry it off. If it gets wet, I'll make sure it's dry at night.
How many deer have been lost due to that same exact story? I mean, our stories were carbon copies, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's basic. That's like 101 stuff. Old fire and pin.
It was cold that morning. It was no exaggeration. The best part of the whole story is it was just a few days later, my same friend called and he goes, "Hey, listen, that buck's running across the field again. And it's with a doe this time, so it's kind of hung up a little bit." So I said, "I'll be right over." So
sounds like he was hung up the first time, too.
Yeah, he was hung up the first time, yeah. So I run down there, and a couple of guys are standing at the neighbor's house that I used to hunt with in southern Maine. And I say, "Hey, there's a big buck just come across Gene's field there." So we thought we knew where he was going, so I sent two of the guys to one spot, and one of the other guys says, "I'm going to tag along with you if you don't mind." I says, "Yeah, I don't mind." So he's tagging along, but he's walking 50 or 60 yards to the right. And I'm working out the track. And all of a sudden I look down and I can see that buck running right straight at me. But there's kind of what we call a hogback in southern Maine, just a gravel bar, from Ice Age. But so he's running at me and he disappears behind this hogback and he's coming out in front of me between another one. So I pull up and I'm waiting for him, and that thing comes into my view, and all of a sudden that deer goes, I hear boom, and the deer stands right straight up and tips right over backwards. Horns drove right in the dirt, and I'm thinking, geez, I didn't think I pulled the trigger. Well, I didn't pull the trigger. Walter, that had been walking to me 50 feet to the right, had gotten around me in front of me just a little bit, and that deer was running right up a tote road right at him. And as soon as that deer tipped over, I see Walter step out into the clearing. Walter said, "Sorry, Lib, I had to shoot him. He was going to run over me."
So going back to the whole tire changer, where does the name tire changer come from? Did you wrap it around a tire or something?
No, a lot of guys call them bolt actions tire changes.
Okay.
Some of them guys will tell you, "I can shoot my bolt action as fast as a semi-auto." Well, you've put a lot more time into that than I would, but
I never heard that. I guess I missed it in the old
we call them
gun
tire
mower.
changers.
Oh, okay. Never heard that one.
No?
You could change your tire in the time it took to get another shot.
Yeah. I'm sitting there trying to put it all together. I'm like, we never said the tire changer part.
So, Lee, was that the last time you let anybody tag along when you was going on a buck track?
I learned a while when I was young there that no tag. You can tag along all you want with a camera.
Yeah.
No guns.
Yeah. We've established that.
Another painful lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think. As much as the allure of the lever action is, I don't know if I've ever carried one deer hunting. I've got a bunch of them. I love the guns. I shoot them, target shoot.
I shot
Shot
a deer when I was a kid with a lever action. I think we all did, didn't we?
That's what they started with.
I did
shot-
actually. I shot one. My first gun was a 30-30 Winchester lever action I bought when I was in high school. I shot a deer with it. That's right.
When I switched to a bigger gun, my first tire changer I actually bought was no, that wasn't the first one. I bought a Browning Auto, BAR, great big thing with a scope on it. I was in Adamstown, and I had my father's 32 Winchester Special, nickel-plated, with a serial number ground right off in it. But it kept your hands warm.
Yeah.
And I never forget, I had a big buck jump out in the bottom of a cutoff at about, 150, 200 yards. And I threw lead at that thing with an open blade sight,
Yeah.
Nothing. So that next year I bought that Browning, and that was a 7 mag. That was a heavy gun, that auto loader.
Oh, yeah.
that
were
was
heavy, yeah.
heavy.
Yeah.
But then I found the carbine 7400, fell in love with that for 15 years, and then Big Woods was kind enough to bless me with an old 7600 that they couldn't get rid of because it was all scarred up. So I put that to good use. And that's my favorite one now.
Your limited edition, huh?
My limited edition.
Yes.
What number did you get?
62. Remember, it had a big ding in the stock.
Oh, yeah.
Woody says, we can't sell that gun. I said, I'll probably take that.
I've got 69 with a big
You
big
do?
ding in the stock too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got number 57 or 52 knife. I wonder who's got that rifle. They ought to have that knife. If anybody out there listening, I'll have to check, see which one it is. 50
Chris,
something.
I think Chris has got the
list.
list. Yeah,
Yeah,
if
he
people,
does.
if they're the original ones, because some people resold them. If we bought them back and resold them, I think Chris still has record of that. But
I'm all excited about we talk about that on the next.
oh yeah, we might as well bring that out now that you got it
Did I?
going here.
Did I
It's
say
always
something I wasn't supposed to? Back up. We'll edit it out, Hal. Don't worry about it.
No, it's all right. I've been thinking about. The reason we really didn't lay it out yet was because we're not going to get them all at once. They're going to come in batches of 25, and I think the first batch they're all sold anyways without even advertising them. So that's why we hadn't tried to advertise yet. So I actually do have the graphic of it, the mock-up graphic. I have that, but until I can really get a firm grasp on when we're going to get them all. The first ones are supposed to be, the last they told me was an August, September time frame for the first 25.
Yeah.
So what is it?
It's a Savage 99 chambered in 358.
Nice try. So anyways, we're going to do another limited edition Big Woods Bucks 7600 carbine. And we're going to do it in, wait for this, 35 Whelen.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to do 100 of those. And they're going to be more, the first one we made kind of fancy with the gold and all that because we figured people would, we'd be kind of like a collector's item. And I think about half the people doing that and the other half are using them. But this one won't have any, it'll be engraved, but it won't be gold. It's going to have it'll have the Big Woods logo on receiver, and then under the ejection port side we'll have 1 of 100, 2 of 100. It'll be like that, and then it's going to come with a Williams Peep, and I got them to do the old-fashioned fleur-de-lure checkering with the high gloss finish, the way they used to come back in the 70s and 60s, 70s, and 80s. So that first, we're going to get them from Remington in batches of 25. I'm hoping it's 25 each month, but I can't confirm that yet. So we'll put some work on Chris, so if anybody's listening wants to get on a list of...
Is Chris losing his mind right now? Listen to this.
You're
supposed to wait, idiot.
He probably won't even publish this one.
Yeah.
He'll make us come back up here and do 2 more.
Yeah,
and see.
put it in the
It's like a
archives.
slave driver.
I'll teach you guys
Yeah.
not to talk about shit before
Yeah.
it's ready.
Yeah. So yeah, but anyways,
That's going to be
what's-
cool. I didn't. I always think I've bought my last gun because Lord knows I don't need another one. But I heard about this and I had to put my order in and pick my number.
What number did you get? 1?
I got number 4.
4?
Yeah, I could have got number 3, but I'm figuring that my daughter's going to end up with this gun one day hunting with it, and that's her number through all her sports years. So
Oh, that's right too.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I kind of did it
Mm-hmm.
for her.
Yeah.
So 4 it is.
Nice.
And,
What number are you
okay.
giving me?
You probably want number 62, don't you?
Oh,
0.
I gotta wait that long.
Oh, you got to. I'm not giving anybody any numbers. Chris is the one that's been assigning them. We actually
weren't you here when we were talking about it at the Big Woods Bucks gathering?
Yes, I was, but I didn't think we were supposed to say anything yet.
He
Well,
wasn't paying attention.
Joe let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah.
Oh, now it's Joe's.
Joe
you
does
didn't
that
have-
a
We
lot.
can't put. You ever try
think
stuffing a cat back in the bag? It ain't going back in.
I've got this little button right here that says erase on this thing.
Erase.
Format.
Don't. We're into
Oh,
it
yeah.
now.
Yeah, we're going to format this whole episode and start over. Try to replicate it.
So we actually, just with a few people, we mentioned it to it in passing. It's sounds like it's going to be a desirable gun for people. So I actually have one guy that wants 2.
I thought
So-
there was someone that had an order for like
5. I think.
5 of them. I thought.
Yeah, I don't know if his will be in the first batch, but yeah. So
Didn't we sell the last batch of guns? Didn't one guy buy 4 or 5 at the Vermont show? Remember that?
not that guy might have bought 3 over there. I don't
Yeah.
think 4 or 5, but another guy did buy 5 near the end.
Oh,
and I
alright.
think it's the same one that wants 5 of
Yeah,
these.
that's nice.
Can't mention any names.
No. Don't tell Joe who it is then.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Don't tell me the guns and don't tell you the hunting spots.
Oh, yeah. Tell me the hunting spots.
Yeah.
So you're going to publish that trail cam picture?
You
Which
can't.
one?
It's
Oh,
fake. It's fake.
People are sending me emails all the time and
It's
everything.
a fake picture.
Photoshop.
We can't do that. Photoshop. Chop.
Some of the guys thought the one I posted after that, the one I used to feed back, the last time I saw that Droptine was 2010. And so people was asking, I got a couple emails or messages, is that the buck you was talking about on the podcast? And like, first I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know, because I didn't know what picture they were talking about. But then I figured it out.
Well,
I
it was
said,
kind
no.
of funny when I saw that picture posted and saw everyone saying that. The fact that you posted a picture right after that with a Droptine buck,
Yeah, what's
I
the
could
odds
see
of
what
that?
they were thinking
Yeah.
because there's not many Droptine bucks
Yeah.
around here, and every Droptine buck I've ever heard of this area, it's always on the right side.
Yeah.
There's only been 3. One I've seen, one a trail camera, and your picture that you used to
Yeah.
feed. And so it was kind of funny because a lot of people were like, "Oh, you call that a 170-inch deer?" But the picture is definitely not that buck.
Ironically, the other one would be 170-inch non-typical, at least.
Oh yeah,
I used to feed. He'd be 170-inch too. But this other one that I got on the trail camera would be.
you think that the one in the picture, the picture that you posted,
Yeah.
you
Oh,
think
yeah.
that buck would have gone that big?
I used to feed him. I used to stand
All
there
right,
and watch
yeah,
him
all
at
right.
20 feet.
I'm judging by one picture.
His drop tine was 10 inches, handlebar on it. He had 14 points. He's going to gross 170 easy. His
Yeah.
thick horns. I got the sheds from the years before. His horns are real heavy, thick horns.
Yeah.
Pretty good tine length, average spread. But I think as a non-typical, he would gross 170. But
Is there anything but gross? I mean, that's it. For me, who cares about deductions and all that stuff?
I don't care either. But since I score for the Maine's Antler Club, I
Yeah.
have to think of it in them terms,
Yeah, right.
But
yeah, no, that was definitely not the buck in the trail cam picture. That trail cam buck.
I'll probably post that picture side by side when I get my hands on his horns this fall.
I'd like you to do that.
That's after I call you and Lee to come help me drag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to be too tired from guiding for crying out loud.
Oh, that's right.
After all we do for you, you could at least put us in the right direction. I mean, poor guy like me, don't know where to go.
Yeah.
I haven't shot a big buck in 10 months, 8 months.
I'm feeling for you. Feeling bad.
Yeah. No, it's the picture of the. It'll be interesting to see. I won't say if, but when you kill him, how close he is to what he was last year. Hopefully, he's not going down.
Might be bigger
Even
this
if
year.
he does.
Could be.
Yeah.
Hey, someone else commented. I saw on one of the posts questioning that. I think they must have been referring to the buck that you guided for. Oh, the guy from Pennsylvania that shot that monster buck.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you said at the time it green scored at 180 something. Was that right?
It grossed 184.
Yeah. And it was an 8-pointer.
Yeah, but it had 12 points. It had 4 non-typicals.
Oh, okay.
So that was a gross score.
It was a mainframe 8.
It was a mainframe 8 that without the stickers is what kept it out of Boone and Crockett. It would have made 170, over 170 as a clean 8.
Yeah.
But the deductions took it out of there just because of the scoring system.
Yeah. That's a monster 8.
Yeah.
Jeez, that thing was big.
That was a big old buck, that guy.
You know that picture I showed you that the buck that Braden shot last year tracking, the mountain I showed you this morning? He'd said he scored it and everything, and I think it was 120 inch, right around there. And it looks much bigger than that, you know. But if you think it didn't have much for brow tines, it doesn't take much to get to a 130 at that point, you know, they can be just.
Yeah, 5 inches, you know. You can go from 120 to 130 with 5 extra inches of brow points. But that's what the trail camera one I got, that's what he has, is what you have to really factor that in, because I believe them brow points are a foot long. You know, if they're not 12 inches, they're 10, but they look to be 12 inches long, huh?
Yeah.
So you add that in with, they look like 12-inch G2s and the big spread. It's got to have long beams to carry that out around into that spread, you know, because it comes right around.
And the difference in the drop between that one and the one you posted the picture of is it is a paddle drop in that picture. It's one of those.
Yeah, it's almost splits. Yeah,
it's
looks
almost like
the end of a milk-bone dog biscuit.
Yeah,
large size.
It's like it's like when you see a lot of times in the Midwest, you see those funky drops all the time, and they'll have a piece of velvet hanging off or whatever, and they're all gnarled up. That's kind of what it looks like. I mean, it's a little bit fuzzy in the picture, but
yeah, I think they end up that way because they start shedding the velvet really that could probably grow a little more. That's why I think they're black on the end from the blood. They really didn't get shut off like the rest of the rack, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
we'll see. I might sneak around there a little bit, but like I said, the problem is we got to have snow, you know. It's just one of them places because I ain't going to sit around too much, but it'd be nice to get some snow in there.
Down there on the south of the, I don't want to say anything else. South of the Kennebec.
Keep talking.
Yes, south of the Kennebec, yeah.
If you knew, my ears are tuned.
He's down
when
there.
you say down there. All you got to do is say there, and my ears go into a whole different level.
I'm glad we didn't include him in on the.
I never know. I've had a lot of guys say there's a big buck here, big buck there, but it's still. I know. It would be nice to shoot that buck, but it's kind of funny when you do shoot a big buck, how many people show up in the same spot the next day.
Right, like there's going to be another one
hunt
there.
a gut pile, like there's going to be another one.
Well, it's funny you said that, hunt the gut pile, because that is, I shot a big buck, pulled it out of there at 11 o'clock in the morning. A couple of buddies of mine were hunting that area. One of them started tracking another buck. Looked like it was heading for the same area, so one of the guys went down and he's waiting there, and another big 8-pointer comes exactly down the same spot.
No.
And had he been standing a little bit closer, he would have killed it, but he was too far back. When it caught the center of my gut pile, he was gone.
Yeah.
And out of there.
Really?
Yep.
I've tracked several of them through a gut pile before.
Really?
Step right in the guts,
Yep. No, he stopped. He stopped on the, and this is what they were telling me afterwards. He said he stopped right where that gut pile was. Now, maybe he winded the hunter standing there or whatever. But
I
But
think
he
he
stopped-
did because they don't know what a gut pile is. They don't understand that it's death. You know what I mean?
But the idea that there was 2 bucks within 3 hours of each other, 2 big bucks on the same spot. So I went back the next season, and I wasn't able to hunt much. I went down there, and I said, well, I'm just going to – didn't have much – we didn't have any snow. I said, I'll sit here for a couple hours. Shot a nice 8-pointer right there.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a nice spot.
Well, bucks travel where bucks travel, right? That's what it is. I know I had some guys that were from, I think they were from Pennsylvania. One of them shot a nice 8-pointer, and he had to leave it in the woods. He didn't no idea where he was. So when he come out that night, he wasn't guided. He was the group were on their own, doing their own thing. And he come up the lodge. He said, "Hey, I shot this buck," and he goes, "But the way I come out," he said, "is not going to be it's a long way to drag one out. Is there a better way to get in there?" And I asked him where it was, and he showed me, and I said, "Yeah, you can get closer over around another way." So he took couple of his buddies with him, and they went in around, and he had GPS'd it, and they got the buck and dragged it out. Well, while they were in there was lots of buck sign around, right where he ended up finishing it off. He had wounded it, and then he finished it off like, I don't know, a couple miles from where he started from. But there was a bunch of buck signs. So his buddy goes, "I think I'm going to bring a tree stand down in here." So his buddy, the same day, they got the buck out in the morning. His buddy went back and put a tree stand up. And it was either that afternoon or the next day, he shoots another big 8-pointer right there. And both of them weighed 225. Both 225, both 8-pointers. One was a better rack. One was just an average rack. But the second one the guy got from the tree stand was a massive 8-pointer. It was the heaviest probably I've seen. That when you looked at the rack, you would think it would score 140. Make Maine's club. The points were like 5 or 6 inches long on it, but it was 22 inches inside.
Nice.
And the mass was unbelievable. It was, I think some of the circumferences were 6 inches, but even out at the tips, like on an 8-pointer, it's half the distance between the last point and the tip was 5 inches.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, it was unreal. They look like friggin' clubs come out around.
See, to me, when you picture like a stereotypical big woods buck, I always think, you remember that buck that was on the cover of I think it was the Benoit second book. Well, it was a Bryce Towsley book.
Yeah.
But it was the white cover, the big, and there's that buck standing on the cover. And that's the kind of rack that he had. Big, it was probably a dark rack, right? The one you...
No, actually that one wasn't. It was average. It wasn't one of them real old dark racks, though.
I always like when you're picturing, not real tall tines, because that's typical up here, where it's not super tall tines, but wide, heavy.
Yeah. I got
That's
a
like
picture
that
of them
green
2
buck.
bucks together because they took a picture, or I did, with the 2 bucks. One of them was right after he got it, but see, the guy that shot the first one, he didn't want to lose it, so he caped it out, and he lugged the head and the cape out that night. And then the next morning they went in and got the rest of it, took it down, tagged it. I think must have called the game warden for him and told them they were going looking for one or something. But yeah, you never know what's crawling around out in the woods, huh?
Nope. Hey guys, Joe here. Wanted to take a few minutes to talk about Lake Parlin Lodge. We're a 4-season lodge located just south of Jackman. We've got cabins, lodge rooms, mini lodge. We're a big snowmobile destination in the winter, full restaurant, bar, all the amenities that you need for your trip. Open obviously through the summer, right on the lake. Kayaks, canoes, all included with the cabin. We also do a lot of weddings, so if you're looking for a destination wedding, we can do a wedding up to 200 people. And, of course, we've got our hunting season, moose season, deer season. So check us out. We're at lakeparlinlodge.com. So we started off with the last 100-yard creep, like closing the deal. This is where we're at.
Yeah.
Pretty typical, huh?
Now we've closed it. We're dragging them out, right?
Right.
It's like, I feel like, which is I think it's good just letting it go, but we usually get distracted by hunting stories. Imagine that.
I think we're typical. We're a typical rack. Yep.
Well, I tell you,
Typical bucks we are.
I do much more roofing this summer. I'll be dragging you guys bucks out for you.
Yeah, that'd be
me.
nice. You
One
keep
in each
going.
hand, yeah.
You're not kidding.
I sell a roofing company, and you go to work for one.
Well, I didn't sign on to be a roofer.
We never hire you. We always tell you, oh, you're going to be a carpenter, maybe even a project manager. Probably just ride around the company truck and do estimates.
Next thing you
Then
know,
you
you're
show
tearing
up,
off
get
roofs.
on that roof. Get on that roof.
Demo job.
Yeah.
I tried Hal
Insulation.
getting Hal away, but he's like, nope.
Yeah.
I'm happy right on the roof.
I think he's going to end up over there in a furniture shop in Rangeley eventually. But
You
We'll
won't get him
see.
to Rangeley.
Yeah.
I think he likes his house. I think he's
we
gonna stay
build
right
another
here.
one. It's just a house.
Well, we can move it with the lodge and everything. We'll do the package deal. We'll truck these suckers right over there.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I don't see moving in my future.
Yeah.
Kind
I
of a
don't either.
creature of habit. You'll have to move at Mount. You're probably going to move the millworks over to Jack.
Oh, that's what we got to do in your new garage. We'll just set you up a workshop, and
Yeah.
you can make.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah,
That's a
we'll get your little
possibility.
box truck, and we'll give you an order every week, and you bring it over, and deliver it, or we
I think
come
that's
pick
a
it
perfect setup.
I just deliver it to the customer.
I'll start having tools delivered next week. That roof, you gonna have the roof on that garage. You're pouring concrete tomorrow, right?
No, not tomorrow. Where probably be I don't know, whenever Matt can do it, but yeah, I won't take too long to build a garage in my spare time.
Yep.
That's probably one of the things I've learned about Hal as I've gotten to know him better here the last 4 or 5, 6 years is he is a jack of all trades.
Oh yeah. Yep.
It's borderline impressive.
I like to say a jerk of all trades.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to say it. Lee talks like that about you all the time.
Oh
behind your back,
yeah. Yeah.
But
That's out of necessity, you know.
you when you built your house, you had a little bit of help, but geez, not a ton.
No. Lee come with his roofing crew for a few weekends and got that done. Lee built the architect trusses, and his guys.
We stood walls with you there. We screwed walls for a couple weekends, and then once we got
just the gable end, remember?
the gable end,
The front gable end. I had the back gable end done, but I couldn't get the front because we needed the staging, and we needed to put all those braces on.
Yep.
So that's where we started that first weekend, and then remember they built. You had them build the outside deck in the front so we could set staging on the outside.
Yep.
And then
then set all them big purlins with no crane. Well, we had a crane go halfway, but
almost. Yeah, they had to get up there and push the other ones up.
yeah. That was when Martin was alive. He was 400 pounds of just brute strength.
Yeah.
And they'd push them purlins up to the top of that.
Martin's
that
not with
rapid.
us anymore.
No, he checked out.
Yeah, that was fun though. I was glad to have the roofing help. That was a 12-pitch roof, but yeah, then I just took my time and finished her up inside.
You only have one major problem with that house.
It's in the wrong neighborhood.
No, you don't have any more space for animal heads.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Well, that's why all the elk heads are down here at the lodge.
Yeah.
But I'm actually in the garage. It's not a big garage. It's 24 by 32, and I'm going to put just one bay in it, probably 12 by 20 for her vehicle so that can get undercover for the winter. And then the other 12 by 20 will be like a front room, and I'm going to put a little thing in there where she can have her products and stuff, or make them maybe even over there, whatever. And then in the back 12 feet, I'm going to have that all one room, 12 by 24, and that part's going to have cathedral up to the collar ties. And then that'll give me a high ceiling so I can start.
stuffing
If
them
I ever
in
shoot
there.
another buck, I'll have a place to put deer head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might be able to find one or two more.
Yeah.
But
I might get
it worked
lucky.
out nice, though, the way you've got it laid out in your house. It looks good.
Yeah, I couldn't believe them deer heads would fit perfectly. They just perfectly fit in that up in the rake there above the windows there.
Yeah.
I looked at that when I was boarding it in. I'm up there on the ladder and Woody's cutting boards for me. You know, they're just short boards that go up in there. I'm like, geez, I think a deer head will fit up in here.
You didn't give any thought to it ahead of time where you were going to put them all?
No, she designed it. She designed how she wanted to hide. If she knew that, she probably wouldn't have designed it that way. But once I got boarding them in, it's between the stiffeners for the gable end and then down to the windows was just enough room for those deer heads to go up. I think I got 6 on each side.
Yep.
Yeah, 6 up, 6 down, and then I put them ones up. I put a couple on the living room wall, kind of kept them away from the big slider there, the triple slider, and then I stuffed the other ones up the stairwell going up into the loft, and then I've been adding to the living room. Oh, jeez. I didn't think she was going to like me to take the last print we had. I got a nice deer print I had. It was beautiful. It looks just like you'd see in the big woods, a buck laying on a spruce tree in a snowstorm. Yeah. And it was over that sliding door, and I'm thinking, that's the only place I got left to put another deer head there. So when I got my Montana buck back this summer from a year ago, I kind of snuck the picture down there and went and got the screw gun.
How long did it take for her to discover?
It wasn't because it wasn't long.
Yeah.
But she goes, I don't care, and then so I put that. I can't remember where I put that. I can't remember. I still got it up. Did I take it downstairs?
Yeah, you got your whole basement anyway, too.
Yeah, I can't remember what I did. No, there ain't no room in the basement.
Oh, the basement is about full.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So.
Good problem to have.
Yeah. I always had a vision of what I would like to do someday, and I could still possibly do it, but I would like to have like a real man cave recreation room.
Yeah.
Like build a building that's, I don't know, 30 by 40 or something, and have high ceilings in it to hang everything. And
trophy room.
Yeah, and have like a bar in it and a pool table and just a hangout place with some.
Well, maybe we should have a Big Woods Bucks gathering place or something.
Well, yeah, and I thought about it. It could be like almost like a studio too, where we could have get-togethers, but then we could, I don't know, maybe it could be a place to edit or review.
Let's build
films.
I got about a mile up the road here. I got a perfect spot for it.
Do you?
Yeah.
No.
Right beside Lee's cabin?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I got a new cabin in Parlin Lodge. Can't wait to see it. They said it needs a little bit of work. That usually means a tear down.
It's Lee's guide cabin. We're gonna go down there and look at it after this podcast.
Yeah, Lee said he'd come over. He wanted to be over here all season and entertain the guys in the evening and stuff, but he needed a place to stay. So
he's taking dance lessons.
Yeah. I can't sleep.
So Joe's got him a nice cabin over there, and we got to have a couple of work sessions there to get it livable.
But we could put our little lodge down there, and that could be where.
What's wrong with the house, the big house? The one that's 5,000 square feet. And
the camp.
That's not
shower. Yeah, what's wrong with the camp?
That's not mine. That's the problem. No, but this one we could do it right here.
Oh, you know what we got to do? When we get down there today, we'll get Lee in front of it, and we'll take a picture of it, and we'll post it on Facebook, and then we'll take a before and an after picture.
Yeah, we'll call it the Drop In.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, we'll take a picture in front of it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, perfect.
You'll like the location, though. It's secluded. It's a nice secluded spot.
Yeah, probably 5 feet off Route 201.
No, it isn't.
No. It's the furthest off 201.
The furthest.
It's further than we are right now.
Really?
Yeah, back in the hill and hidden in behind the pines in there.
Yeah. You're making it sound appealing.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's all pine interior, walls and ceilings.
Nice.
Yeah.
So on that note, what do you say we go take a look at it?
Yeah. I'm excited now.
I'm going to have Hal carry you across the threshold.
It'll probably fall in.
Hal's going to re-injure his back just for deer season. Yeah. What the hell happened? Well,
I think you should bring Chrissy over to get her started on the bathroom, cleaning that out.
That's not sexist or anything, is it?
No.
Oh, my God. She doesn't listen to these, I hope.
No.
Oh, good. All right. I think you should have her clean the bathroom, too, then.
If I listened to one, if somebody calls me and said, you said something like, John called me the other night and said I said something about a swinging hooker in a barnyard. I didn't say that, did I?
What?
Yeah, I like, what the heck? So now I got to listen. So I started listening to that podcast the other day, and Chrissy just sits there and listens along with me. But
A swinging hooker in a barnyard.
yeah, I
I don't
don't
remember you saying that.
I don't either. And he might have been drinking. Yeah.
That's probably a good chance.
We're somewhere around neighborhood. I don't know what this one is, but it must be 30 episodes, so it's kind of hard to remember everything you said.
Right. But I'm usually
You
pretty
know.
good.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of things I'd like to say, but
Yeah, we got you
Let it-
straight. We got you straightened out
after the first two, two
Yeah,
or three there.
couple of S-bombs
Woody
dropped.
called and said, "Hey, I'm sick of editing your
Yeah, he had to take you to the
crap
woodshed,
out."
didn't he?
Yeah, I got taken to the woodshed. Yeah,
To the woody shed.
the Woody shed. Yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
anyways, we close this one out. We are looking for, we do like getting feedback and listening to questions or reading questions and then responding to them and all that stuff. So if you got questions,
Yeah.
fire them over, either email them directly or send us a PM on the Big Woods Bucks Facebook page or whatever.
Yeah, if
It's
you're
always
in the-
fun.
If you're a member of the hunting club, put it in the question of the month. If you're not a member of the hunting club, join up. And can't think
It
of
is.
anything else.
And the feedback's great. We're hearing a lot of good stuff. I got a message. It's I don't know, that gotten a few invitations out of the Adirondacks, which is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, we
Yeah,
always appreciate that. We just don't have time to do it because Hal's a friggin' slave driver.
Well, we got to get Joe Danito back on because I want to thank him.
Yeah.
Because when he told me I wasn't invited to the Adirondacks, I've had several people call and say,
Yeah.
"Hey, Liv, I got a cabin for you."
Yeah.
I said, "Is it anywhere near Joe Danito?"
Yes, it
'Cause I'm going to
is.
sneak up behind him in the woods and say, "Hey, Joey."
I just got a message and it said it's right next to Joe's place.
Yeah.
It says
Awesome.
perfect.
The neighborhood is going to hell, Joe.
Yeah. Careful what you wish for, right?
One of these days, though, I would like to get down there and see that country.
Yeah, I would too. Maybe this year. Yep.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah,
couple
you want
places
this
I
year.
want to go check out. If I don't have to guide all year.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, that's another thing too. You can never talk about it like it's a real job because even though you're tired and it's not necessarily
guiding?
easy. Yeah.
Oh no,
For
that's
crying out loud, you're getting paid to go hunting.
It's a great. It's Kevin Harrison said it best. It's a great life, but it ain't much of a living. You know.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it's been.
That sums it up. So you
Yeah.
gotta. You know,
I love
sometimes-
guiding. Absolutely love it. But
Yeah.
I really like the interesting clients. I kind of like to.
Yeah, you meet new friends all the time, and
Well, I am really appreciative that you're taking the moose hunter for me.
Yeah, but how could
because-
I say no to that?
No, I know.
You know, disabled
But
vet.
it's
Come on.
you took a lot of stress off me and I know that because it's just one of those things that I want everything to go right and
So you got
And-
me involved.
yeah, what am I thinking? Hal, are you available that week?
Listen to what you're
I know.
saying.
I know you'll show them a good time. I mean, as all the guides do, but that's the whole thing is that there's a lot of guys around that are happy to come and take
Right.
someone, but you always, you want everyone to have that experience.
Yeah,
so it's
and-
important to have good people out there.
Yep.
And so when you find one, let me know.
Yeah, I will. Yep.
yeah. So get them houses you got lined up done, and
Wow, you know what I did today? I sent because I got I sent part of the crew out to Palmachini. There's no cell service out there, so I knew they wouldn't be able to bother me. So I said, go out to Palmachini, work on them camps for a while.
That's
So-
right next to your favorite hunting spot, isn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah, yep, right behind the favorite gate.
Yeah.
Yep. So I didn't have to worry about that, and I think the office is under control. So good day to sneak off.
yeah. All right. Can't wait to show you the cabin.
Oh,
All right. Let's go see the cabin.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in again. And the days are getting shorter. Snow's coming. 46 degrees here in the big country this morning. So it won't be long now. The only reason we moose hunt anyways is it gets us in the woods to get ready for deer season.
Yeah,
Gets us
gotta
in
get in
shape.
shape.
And
Speak for yourself. I love it.
No, I
I
love, it
love
too.
moose.
But it does get you in the woods looking around at stuff.
It
gets
does.
It's kind of the warm up. It's kind of like
Yeah.
you're getting warmed up for deer season, getting ready.
Yeah.
So,
Rumor has it some of the moose, some of the bulls, and it's July 17th or 18th now, but
Never supposed to date it, Lee. This thing's not coming out for 2 weeks for
sorry.
crying out loud.
But anyways, so I know a fella's got a place in the Palmachini. He said there's 2 big bulls in there hanging together. And he
nice.
said they have, beautiful horns already.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Usually by July here, mid of July, they've got pretty much the shape they're going to have. And
Yeah.
they'll get a little bigger. Because they only got another month or so to grow, and then that's it.
Then we'll be sticking them.
Yep. So,
Yep. Pulling their teeth out.
yeah.
Measuring
like it.
their antlers.
I like it.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Till next time, good luck on the trail.